good evening everybody, and I want to welcome you all to the Royal Institution. I'm Simon Baron-Cohen, a psychologist, but I'm also a fellow at the British Academy, and as you know, this event is hosted jointly between the British Academy and The Guardian. What we're looking at as a topic is the question of whether there could one day, or perhaps already are, drugs that might improve learning, and in particular learning of languages, and even more specifically foreign languages. So we're going to be hearing about that and exploring some of the scientific but also some of the social and moral questions around that.
How many people in the audience take caffeinated coffee? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, wakes you up in the morning, keeps you awake and alert, gets you ready for work. And how many, now this is difficult, I know, to admit to, but some of the brave people out there, how many of you take nicotine in your cigarettes? Here we go, that's good. So we know some people are also taking nicotine as a alerting, awaking, and keeping up your sustained attention, which is what it does do. So now I'm going to ask the question a slightly different way, because I don't want to put you on the spot. How many of you know a friend or a relative or someone who takes a cognitive enhancing drug such as Ritalin, methylphenidate, or modafinil? Okay, so quite a few of you actually in the audience. Now I'll ask another question. If there was a safe and effective cognitive enhancing drug which actually increased your motivation and your pleasure of doing a task, would you take it to learn a language? Okay, thank you very much. So that helps me start the conversation.
If you learn a foreign language cognitively in your mind, you're continuously controlling your native language, you're suppressing that language, and so that you don't retrieve words from that language. And that cognitive practice of suppressing the other language has general benefits for your cognition. So we know that people that learn a foreign language early in life, they have these cognitive benefits. But even if they learn the language later in life, after the critical period, after the period of peak plasticity, which ends at about puberty, people still benefit from learning a language cognitively. And so that you're better protected against the effects, even in healthy aging, the decrements, you're better protected against that, and also the effects of dementia are more retarded.
Language is not science. It's humanity. It's the creation of human behavior, of what do you think, what do you see, how you want to communicate, what sort of the legacy you want to leave behind. Therefore, we create the literature. What I'm trying to say is, learning a language is a joy, it's a journey, it's a discovery, it's understanding, it's appreciation. It's not something I can plant a chip, therefore I switch, suddenly I speak French. It's not like that. When I show the appreciation, when I show the real understanding, I have the human connection with people. That's the value of the language. And when we talk about learning language, we also have to think about what's the motivation behind it. Not only learning language, learning as a whole.
This debate is quite surreal for me. In most parts of the world, this debate would not happen. In most parts of the world, multilingualism is normal. Not being able to speak more than one language is a handicap, much more serious than Asperger's syndrome, for example. The languages that I'm best in are those that I've loved the most. And Icelandic, although I did learn conversationally in a matter of days in Reykjavik in 2004, it was only because I fell in love with the language. And I think if I hadn't fallen in love with Icelandic, it would not have been possible, no matter how my brain works. Languages serve important social functions. If you can imagine being put on an island and not being able to speak to anyone and having no books, so you can't read anything, there is almost nothing we can do to a human being worse than take away their language and their ability to communicate and their ability to relate to other human beings through language. Language is actually a side effect of a much larger goal. French, for me, is a side effect of falling in love with a French person. Icelandic is a side effect of falling in love with being in Reykjavik and meeting these wonderful Icelanders and discovering afterwards, years later, the literature of Iceland and being able to read in the original this wonderful literature.